Nick, you heard him say it. The clock is ticking on everybody, including himself. Do you think the clock has run out on Tom Brady?
I mean, I'm pretty on the record on this. I think the clock ran out on Tom Brady early last season, and I think we have all the evidence of it. The New England Patriots last year lost every single game. Their defense allowed more than 17 points. They didn't have a single win last season that was due to Tom Brady playing great. And in the playoffs, that continued. Like, people are saying, if the clock didn't run out on Brady midway through the season, you know when it officially struck midnight? When their season ended on a Tom Brady pick six right there. Great job by our video team having that ready. They didn't even know I was going to say that. They scored 13 points in a playoff loss, and it ended on a pick six. So, Wilds, to me, he's 43 years old. He's the greatest quarterback ever. But the idea that Tampa, because of their weapons, is going to get some rejuvenated throwback Brady, I know, Kevin, that's the conventional wisdom. It's just not what I see happening, and I didn't see the evidence that Brady still existed last season, Wilds.
Yeah, I interpreted the quote a little bit differently. I didn't know if he was talking about his career or just like leading up to, kickoff. Because if he's talking about kickoff, like the clock's ticking differently for Drew Brees. Like Drew Brees doesn't have to waste any time looking at his playbook. He doesn't have to waste any time like saying like, hey, by the way, I'm Drew. It's nice to meet you. I'm the quarterback. Tom has to do all of that. And I think that eats into some of his prep. So, Greg, I don't know if we're making too big a deal of this or not a big enough deal enough. The fact that how long it takes in the sort of the condensed schedule that he has with his teammates.
Wilds, I'm going to jump right in where you just left off. I agree. The clock has not run out. If he's still in uniform and he still has an opportunity to be under center and compete, the clock hasn't run out. Regardless of how we've seen him perform or what his last throw in New England looked like, Nick, he still has another opportunity to get that ball in his hand and throw it down the field. To Wilds, to your point, that was my takeaway. When he talks about spending time with looking into his playbook and learning new plays, what he's talking about is when you've been in a system, you don't have to waste that time. It's not that he doesn't look at his playbook. It's not that he doesn't refresh his memory. It's not that he don't add or implement new plays or implement things that are little nuances that he has to relearn or learn. But you don't have to spend countless moments and hours studying to ingrain and literally brand those plays and that verbiage into your mind so that it can become second nature, so that it can become something that just rolls off the tip of your tongue. Like you alluded to, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and all these other quarterbacks, because they are familiar with their systems, they can spend their time, quality time, just perfecting that timing, that chemistry, because they haven't had the time with the guys. Now Brady, because of coronavirus, because of all the things that we've seen different this offseason, he hasn't had any of those moments. So that's what he's talking about.
Greg, real quick here, because I know we don't have a ton of time. I just want to toss it back to you. You've been on the other side of this as far as the building chemistry, a new team on the receiver side. How much time for you was spent your first season in Minnesota, especially in the lead up to it, on just figuring stuff out rather than what you already had figured out in Green Bay, and then you could just work on the field stuff?
I spent a ton of time with Christian Ponder, simply because he was a younger quarterback, then not so much even on the field, because on the field, we were on the field before practice, after practice, just catching balls, trying to see what I did, what he did. But mentally in the film room, you have to understand how a quarterback thinks, what he's thinking, what he sees, how he sees a play and a defense developing and what they're doing, so that you can get on the same page. It's not just about running routes and getting open. It's being in a window. What do you see? What are you looking at? Why are you looking at it this way? So then I can then say why I'm looking at it and what I'm seeing as a receiver and a route runner, because there are two different perspectives and two different vantage points. We're starting at two different positions, but we have to see the same thing. And that's getting on the same page as your receivers that creates the timing and make things a lot more seamless.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.